Podcast, a platform created to entertain, educate, and evolve the modern-day deer hunter.
Yeah, I don't know how Bomber doesn't have Friday night.
What do you mean?
I'm pretty sure he chose.
Just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Didn't want to come here tonight.
You didn't want to come here?
He kicked us out.
You didn't want to come?
He ghosted us.
Let's try calling him. Actually, I want to.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Hey, you know what I found here too, on this last trip? There you go. It's my the diamond side to this. It's just like that.
Oh, really?
And it's a perfect little edge to catch the broadheads and sharpen your broadheads with this thing. And I was getting them razor sharp at this shit.
Yellow.
What are you doing? You're so busy that you couldn't show up at the Deer Hunter Podcast studio tonight.
Traversing north with Jody.
You are?
Yeah, sneaking in one last camping trip.
Oh, right on. We thought it might be full salt foot rubs in the living room.
Full of salt?
None of that harsh shit.
We're phoning you in here on the podcast there, bud.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm special guest?
Yeah, we're getting techie here, you know.
Oh, they got me on the show, hon.
Turn your radio down in the background. Holy hell.
Yeah, it comes screaming in.
Jesus Christ, Ryan's piling in there.
Oh, how's it going, you little hard-ons?
We just started. We got a phone interview here with a guy in about 10 minutes, so we wanted to guinea pig you to make sure that the audio was dialed in well, and it looks to be. So we just figured we'd check in and see what you're doing. You're heading north to go camping, huh?
Yeah, baby.
It's interesting. Camping during deer season.
Do you have a weapon with you?
My deer season doesn't start for 2 more weeks.
Ooh, I like it. It's getting cocky about it.
Wow.
He's just had enough of the bow hunting talk.
Yeah.
Done.
Staying true to the run and gun.
What's that?
Those guys over at the Big Woods Bucks contacted me today, and those guys listened to the podcast that we had Hal on, and they enjoyed it, and they said they would like to do some more stuff together, cross-promotional stuff here in the future. So,
What's it? I'm losing you.
what do you mean you're losing me? What do you got,
You're
Sprint?
like you're like fading out, like you set the microphone on the counter and walked away, looking over your shoulder, talking sassy to it.
Huh. Interesting. Can you hear me now?
I think that's just
Yeah,
your
said,
ears in North Michigan cell service.
I just can't hear Drew. Period.
Wow.
Really?
Can you hear me?
Can
you hear me, baby?
No. You said they. Hello.
I think
You said the Big Woods Bucks dudes listened to the show you did with Hal.
Yeah, they enjoyed it. They said they'd
So
like
you need
to
to adjust something if he can't hear us.
I think he can hear you. I think he's just being a goon.
He's a goonie.
Yeah. You really can't hear those guys?
Yeah, they sound like shit.
Damn.
It just sounds echoey, like you're like fumbling through a pair of jeans in a bus station.
You know what? Remember?
When we did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
Drew.
Kurt at working class bow hunter told us about that. There's something, but we're not going to get into all that tonight. The audio records well, so just deal with it.
Wow. You won't have to deal with it for long either, buddy.
Buddy.
Well, you can't hear me.
That's cool, man. We like I said, I kind of just wanted to guinea pig you and get this audio dialed in, and we figured we'd check in with you and see what the hell was so busy tonight that you couldn't show up give up your Friday night to come sit in with your buddies and have a beer.
I just assumed you were giving the pointer back rubs.
Oh no, she's KO'd in her bed in the back seat right now.
Tough life.
Where are you going?
Yeah. Back up towards Onaway, the state forest up there.
Is it supposed to rain and be shitty all weekend?
No.
Oh no, baby, it's gonna be beautiful.
Oh.
High of 40 and sunny tomorrow. Low of 28 tonight and tomorrow night.
Nice.
Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Cool.
Just get out there, just tune out for a weekend. Just do some hiking.
You're taking the camper, huh?
Yeah, we're just off the grid back in there.
Nice.
So yeah, just we usually leave the furnace off, leave the heater off through the night because we're passed out sleeping, so we can't tell, just to conserve battery.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. The camper's got to hold heat pretty well, I would think, right? You're not going to get freezing cold through the night.
Oh,
Yeah.
not really. It kicks on, like, it'll cycle and then shut off, and then probably within 5 minutes it's going back on again.
Oh, no shit, man. So that
Oh
thing,
yeah, dude.
wow. I thought they were a
Things
little
are-
better than that.
Nah, they're shitty.
Thin
There's-
walls and stuff on the campers too. The
Dude,
windows aren't
yeah.
super energy efficient.
If you ever taken apart one of those campers, you'd be
like
amazed those
nothing.
fucking
There's
things
like
hold
nothing.
together going down the road.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Dude,
framed in 2x2s.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you ever
So
see
is the roof of my cabin.
It's crazy.
Did you ever see a camper accident on the side of the highway?
Oh, it
Like
opens.
somebody-
It just opens up like a kid like opened a box at Christmas or something.
Oh, dude, it's like someone just jam-packed it full of C4 and just detonated it.
They do come apart pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, there's like insulation and shredded 2x2 splinters within a 500-foot radius.
Looks like somebody filled it with 20 pounds of tannerite and took a shot at her, huh?
Yeah, it's like if somebody just struck a match inside the Airstream and ignited all the farticles during deer camp.
Wow, that's a mushroom cloud.
Yeah, that just disintegrates. There is no shrapnel after
Yeah.
that.
Well, hey, bud, we'll have plenty to talk about here next week. I'm going to bring all the podcast stuff up to deer camp, so we'll do a couple from the Airstream, but have fun on your camping trip there. Tell Jody that we said hello.
Will do, buddy. Yeah, sorry couldn't make it, but definitely looking
No,
get
good,
up with all you
good
radsters.
for you. I'm glad you're going up north. I envisioned yourself just
Oh, yeah.
sulking on the couch, drinking whiskey and falling asleep.
Nice. Cool, dudes. All right, you guys have yourselves a good one, and stay hard and enjoy the show.
Have a good one.
All right, see you, buddy.
See you, buds.
See you later. God, my wife has me in a goddamn group text, and it's 9:15. What's so important?
You can silence that shit.
I'm trying, but it's hard to do while we're
I'm trying.
recording. And I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm going to be using this phone to record."
Bing, bing,
Yeah.
bing, bing,
Yeah.
bing. It's just cat videos.
All right. Yeah, it's probably just stupid gifs. All right, so what we're doing now here, we wanted to have a conversation about capitalizing on the rut, and I wanted to talk to a couple guys that consistently get it done, and the guy we're calling right now is Alvin Sitkiewicz from Michigan Gone Wild. They hunt up north in the state forests around the areas that we hunt. They kill big bucks.
but what? But
Yeah, man, I'm having all kinds of problems lately, so
I'm with you.
yeah, they're the real deal. So
Yeah.
he's at work. He's stepping out for 15 minutes. I told him we'd call him at 9:15. It's 9:15.
Get her done.
Let's do this shit.
DHP is always prompt.
No, we're not, ever. My wife doesn't even bother asking what time we'll be home anymore.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Might blow us off. Son of a bitch.
Michigan
Come on,
gone.
Alex.
Hello.
Alvin,
What's up?
what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much. I'm doing good. How about you guys?
You're working.
Pretty
So
darn
we
good.
got I just called a buddy up because we were kind of messing around with the audio. I'll just let you know we are recording. I think I sent you a text saying that. I don't know. Can you hear these other guys say?
How's it going, man?
Hey, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, good. I think it was just a technical difficulty on the other end of the phone lines for the last guy we were talking to. But so you're working, huh?
Gotcha.
You were just on a big mule deer hunt, huh?
Yeah, it didn't go the way I wanted it to, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's the first time I've ever hunted mule deer. I went out to Nebraska. It was actually kind of a backup plan. I had planned on going to South Dakota, but stupid me, I didn't realize you have to, as a non-resident, you have to buy your tag online. And I called the South Dakota Fish and Game. I was like, well, I already bought it. Can I pick it up at a game office? And they're like, no, I can't do that. So I was like, all right, well, I'd already bought the tag. It was 5 days before we were about to leave. And I told my wife, I'm like, well, I was like, we're not going to South Dakota. We're going to Nebraska. And I was sitting there Saturday, the day we're supposed to leave. I'm waiting for the mailman. Waiting. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. He gets there. Go check the mailbox. No South Dakota tag. So I busted out the credit card, got on Nebraska Fish and Game, bought the tag, and we headed out to Nebraska. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We saw a lot of mule deer. It wasn't exactly the best time to go, but it was. I'm not allowed to call it a honeymoon, but it was kind of a couple weeks after our wedding. Wife said I can't call it a honeymoon, so but it was a lot of fun. I pulled off a couple stalks, blew them, did an amazing job at blowing them, and then I actually missed one. So
Nice.
You were bow hunting?
yep.
Oh, okay, right on.
That's sweet.
Yeah, man. I was just talking to a guy yesterday that does a lot of mule deer hunting and shot some big mule deer, and it's got me thinking that sounds like a pretty fun.
It's fun. There's a lot of big ones out there, but I'll tell you what, most of the ones we saw were on private property.
Okay.
And I talked to a few landowners, and the biggest thing out there is the land's leased up. So the big farmers out there that own the huge ranches or the farms, what they'll do is they'll lease out the grazing rights, the farming rights, and then also the hunting rights. And that was the case for a lot of the properties that we saw. I mean, we were seeing bucks 100 yards off the road that were 150, 160-inch class mule deer, which, I mean, I would have been more than happy with.
Yeah.
They're just bedded, in a little ditch 100 yards off the road, and I'm like, oh, my God.
But you can't get at them.
No.
So how'd that? I'm kind of curious. How'd that go when you missed that muley? Got a quick story?
Well, what I did was we saw it. It wasn't a big mule deer. It was like a little 3x3 or 3x2. And it was the last day, and I told my wife, I was glass net. I said, you know what? I says, I'd be more than happy to stalk up and shoot that deer. I says, this is my first mule deer hunt. I've never even tried for mule deer before. And she's like, sure, go get it. So I hopped in a ditch. It was like an old dried out creek bed. There was some water in it. I haven't even began working on the video yet, but I got it all on film. So my wife's sitting back, and she's kind of watching from a distance, and she'd see me pop out, and I'd crawl on the ground a little bit, then I'd go back down in the ditch, and I had a 300-yard stalk, and I finally got up. I was 60 yards away. I looked up, and I seen the does to the right, and I could see the buck laying right under the tree. So I took a 3-point observation, 3 points of observation on this tree, so that way if I popped up, I'd know it was that tree. So I looked at the top, I looked at the middle, and I looked at the surrounding area around it, so that way I knew where I was at. I was about 65 yards away at that point. I get down, I take off my boots, I'm walking in muck, and
Nice.
I'm slowly walking up. And at one point, I felt the wind at my back, and I was like, shit. I was like, that's not good. And I popped up, and I turned my GoPro on because I got it on my head, and you can just see in the footage, all the deer, their ears are pinned out straight from their head. They're looking at me, and I'm like, man, he ended up busting out of there, and I was like, dude. But it was a lot of fun. I ended up that night, right before we took off, I stalked up on a few, and I got into within 65 yards of a doe, and every time I'd start getting a little bit closer to this buck that was 95 yards away, I keep sneaking up on it, and it kept moving away a little bit more and more, and the doe wasn't moving, and I'm like, come on, you stupid bitch, you got to move or something, because I can't keep stalking if you're right there. And it eventually just ended up walking over across the road on the private property, and I walked back from the creek bed, and my wife's sitting up there in the truck, and I could see the camera hanging out the window. She's filming me. I was like, you know what? I was like, this is like the 4th time you filmed me on a blown stalk. I was like, people are going to get tired of seeing my sappy ass walk back to the truck.
Yeah.
This one's going right to the recycle bin on the laptop.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Man,
It was
it's a
fun,
good time,
though.
though. It's a
Yeah,
good time.
definitely.
Yeah, good honeymoon for you, and then maybe you might have to do a little something other than that. Or
Little hunting moon.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said that's it sounds like a good honeymoon for you. I mean, you can't classify that for
now
her.
she's gonna listen to this because she listens to these podcasts when I'm driving down the road or something, and she's gonna be like, "I told you not to call it a fucking honeymoon." Listen, those guys were
On the
drinking;
record.
they couldn't help it.
Yeah.
On the record.
Right.
A hunting moon, not a honeymoon.
Well, hey,
Right.
I know you're at work, and we won't take up too much of your time. The reason I wanted to get you on right now is because I know that the rut is, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, what's your opinions on it? Is it kind of like full swing, best opportunity of the year, or do you think that's more towards the middle of November, the later part of November? Kind of your take on that, and then, like, what are you doing? Are you hunting differently that time of year? Like, what's your strategy? I know you guys have been pretty consistent at putting some, above average deer down. So I figure you guys got, some type of system. You're not just running out and blindly sitting places.
Honestly, starting October 20th, I usually don't go after bucks before that. Of course, I haven't been in the tree much lately, but I have been doing a lot of scouting. And I'll tell you, this time of year, it's very situational. It's situational to how many deer are in the area, what your buck to doe ratio is, where you're hunting, what kind of cover you're hunting. It's all very situational. It even comes down to weather. But like this time of year right now, and I'll break it down into a couple different phases of the way I hunt, because probably from October 20th till about maybe November 4th to that November 5th range, I'm typically hunting rub lines coming out of bedding areas. If I get down to a hot scrape, not just like a little pawing, I'm talking like a big scrape, I'll get on those. Because typically you're more mature deer. And if we're talking about hunting, mature deer, 3.5 plus years old,
Yep.
that's a pretty tough deer to come by where I hunt. Kevin, where you hunt up here too. It's killing a 3.5-year-old buck's pretty tough. So if I'm talking about that, then you're usually targeting bucks right in their core area, in their bedding area where they're coming out, because they're going to start venturing out. They're going to be, checking their scrapes. They're going to be hitting their rub lines. They're going to be going checking does. But once again, it's going to stay closer to that, first 2 hours of the morning and last 2 hours of the, before it gets dark is when your best opportunity is. As you start moving, and there's a lot of overlap, like I said, depending on the area that you're hunting. But during that time frame, I'm looking at, bedding areas, rub lines, catching bucks pretty much coming out their bedroom door. When it starts moving into pretty much the seeking and starting to get into some of that chasing phase, where you can see that probably as early as October 25th and as late as November 15th. Like I said, there's a lot of overlap. But in that time frame, sometimes bucks will just leave their core area altogether. They'll bed in random spots. I've seen bucks, for instance, a couple years ago, we had a buck on trail camera, and it was this nice 8-point, and on his right side, he had a little bulge underneath where he looked like he wanted to grow a drop tine. It's a great buck. We ended up seeing a picture of him, and the guy killed him 7.5 miles. Well, when we Google Earthed it, where that guy said he was at, it was like 7.3 miles away.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
And that was on like November 10th. Got shot with a crossbow. So that goes to show you that like the bucks up here, they move. And they're not walking 7 miles back to their bedding area.
No.
So they'll bed in random spots.
Right.
And key to killing, if you want to see deer all day, because I mean, I tell everyone from November 1st on, and sometimes before, from November 1st on through the rest of the, November, you can see deer from sun up till sundown. Now there is, every buck is different, obviously. Some of them are just so dominant and mature that they know that they have the does in that area. They don't need to go looking for other does. And those bucks, yeah, you're going to have to stay in close on their bedding area, even if that means you're hunting through, all of November. But moving towards rifle season, see, this is where it gets situational, because if I was hunting anywhere else, like I'm going to Ohio Monday, I'll be down there for a week. But when you move into rifle season up here, where there's not a lot of deer, you're looking at a lot of these mature bucks that are breeding the does in their very core area. And that may be within a square mile. I mean, they're running around, they're bringing the does back into their bedding, they're following the does back into their bedding, but they're not venturing too far out of that. And those are the bucks, honestly, in my mind, they're the easiest to kill. Because if you get them on trail camera in the early part of October, I tell people all the time, if you get a buck on trail camera in the early part of October, you're in his core area. Stay out of there until you can almost guarantee that he's going to be there. Like if you work the outskirts of that area and you're seeing scrapes, or you have cameras up and you're getting him on the outskirts, he's going to come out of that area multiple different directions on any given day or any given wind. And you just need to be on the right one when he's coming out of there.
Right.
It's a case by case when you're talking about specific bucks, especially when they have enough knowledge and they've been around long enough and they know that at a certain point in time, there's going to be a bunch of people in the woods wearing orange, and they know it and they prepare for it. So when moving into rifle season, that's actually how we set up a lot of our stands. I mean, I like my bow hunting. I mean, I like bow hunting acorn ridges. I like bow hunting rub lines coming out of, big swamps. But when it comes to rifle season, I want to cover as much ground as possible. And if that means me getting up 55 feet in a white pine overlooking a huge marsh, then that's what I'm going to do, because them deer know exactly where to go when the bullets start flying. And I've noticed one of the biggest things is not only are you getting the bucks that are getting pushed into that thick stuff, you're getting the does. And what are the bucks looking for that time of year? They're looking for the does.
Right.
So if you're in any area like that, I mean, and that could be the week leading up to rifle season, because obviously you have a lot of people out in the woods that are pushing them in the areas, in the thick stuff.
Right.
That's where they're going to go.
So you think those older deer, they'll move less, shrink their range down? I mean, that was always my impression up there, is that they're just not likely to go far. I mean, maybe under the cover of darkness, it's different, but during the day, man, it's pretty rare to hear somebody, saying that they were hunting somewhere that wasn't right in a bedroom that saw, a nice buck on its feet during the middle of the day. And I mean, I got cameras all over the place up there too, and I just starting to get 2.5-year-olds, in the mornings cruising and stuff, but still not really any big deer besides at night.
You will, though. It's only a matter of time, and it may be at nighttime, but it's going to give you a good idea of what's using that area.
Right.
Like I said, I hunted one buck one year. It was a big 9-point. I saw him 4 different times, and it was all 4 different times were in 4 different areas, and I was hunting an area at least 2-3 square miles. It was huge. And the first time I saw him was on October 25th. I got a trail camera of a deer. I got its rear end, but it was huge, and its tarsal glands were dark. I mean, black as night. And I'm like, wait a second. I was like, ain't no dink going to be doing that. So I decided to go in one morning. I set up in a tree, and I had hunted the area before. I kind of knew how the deer used it. So I went in there. I set up, and about an hour after shooting light opened up, I had a big 9-point come 25 yards underneath the tree stand. And had I not been filming, I would have been able to shoot him. I had a little gap between 2 popple trees, but I was swinging the camera around as he was walking through it, and camera's getting focused and everything, and he ended up popping out. Well, I thought no big deal, because he's going to circle around, he's going to come out into this little opening. Well, he never did. He cut it back to the left, and for the next half hour, I watched him scrape the hell out of trees. And I was like, oh, great. This is fun. But then on November 4th, I went out and I was sitting in a hardwoods. I had a hard west wind, and I couldn't hunt where I hunted that morning with the west wind. So I got up further, a little bit to the north, thinking, okay, well, if he comes out on the edge of the swamp and he pops out on his rub line, because he had a rub line on the edge of the swamp and it popped up into the hardwoods where he was eating on some beech nuts, and there was also a lot of does in there too. Well, he popped out around 4:30 in the afternoon. He was rubbing a tree about 115, 130 yards away. And my buddy Joe was filming me, and we just sat there and watched him. We couldn't do anything because we had a spike horn literally right underneath us. And if we would have done anything, whether snort wheezed or grunted at him, that spike horn would have looked up and just blew at us. And that's all we could do. We just sat there and we just filmed him. And I said, well, maybe another day. Well, a couple days later, I went in hunting, ended up walking. I didn't see anything that night, walked out, and I was walking across the marsh, this beaver dam that I walked across to get there. And I look across the marsh, and there he is, bedded with a couple does right in the middle of the marsh, about 60, 70 yards away. I was like, oh, okay. All right, now you're pissing me off. So then I go in there, because I got to kill this deer with my bow. I go in there the night before opening day. That would have been 2015. I go in there the night before opening day, and I was like, I got this. We had a great southwest wind. I says that was the wind that I needed to kill this deer to get the closest to him. He walked out at 55 yards behind a bunch of thick stuff with only, I think it was like 5 minutes left of shooting light. He got out, got my wind, and ran away. And I was like, oh my God. Well, 3 days later into the rifle season, I was driving into that spot, and there was a couple guys that were camping there. I saw the deer hanging in the tree.
Oh no.
So yeah, it was pretty tough, but I learned a lot from hunting that deer. And, I knew he was a mature deer, at least 3.5, could have been 4.5. I had trail cameras, pictures of him 2 years before, and he was a 7-point, a little dink, but that's why I figured he was, possibly 4.5, but I always underguess deer up here anyways, because you get most people that say they're 4.5 or 5.5, and you go look at the teeth, and you're like, oh, that's a 2.5-year-old deer you got there.
Right. Yeah, they never get very old up there, man.
No, they don't.
It's rough.
And you know what? They have so much cover up here. I mean, we got a deer. Anyone that's seen our deer camp episodes, we've kind of documented it. We got a deer that we've had on trail camera since 2013. And I call him a drop tine buck, and he's literally living on a little island in the middle of this swamp. And there's absolutely no way to get to him because of any wind that you would have. Any westerly wind you would have would totally screw you. If you came in, there's a lot of water in the area, so you'd have to walk, obviously in the drier parts. I'm not talking like a foot of water. I'm talking like 6-7 feet of beaver pond water.
No.
So there's absolutely, and he's got it completely figured out. There's just no way of getting to him. And we've had him on trail camera every odd year since.
Really?
So 2013, 2015, 2017, we've had him on camera. And he had a double drop tines in 2015. We think he lost a drop tine last year because we only got his left side. And but he's just a giant, and he's just got it figured out. He knows how to evade hunters.
Yeah.
Those ones are so tough to kill, and you will lose a lot of sleep sitting there looking at Google Earth trying to figure out how to kill them son of a bitches. It drives me up the wall, but I love it.
You mentioned about snort wheezing. Do you have any tactics or things that you use consistently over the years, or is your approach just be quiet?
The snort wheeze for me, Kevin, honestly is a 50-50. I've had deer posture up, start scraping, the ground, rubbing a tree, come charging in, and then I've had them look up and be like, oh fuck no, and they run off. And it's honestly, if I was gonna do it, it'd be the last week of October, possibly the first few days of November, because once you get a lot of the fighting out of the way, that's when they're doing a lot of their fighting. They're sparring that first week in November, last week of October, and once you get that out of the way, and when they've established their dominance. If you do that to a buck that's got his ass kicked a few times, he's not coming to you. I don't care if he's a 3.5-year-old deer. If he's gotten his ass kicked, he's running away. He doesn't want any piece of that.
Sure.
But if you get onto a dominant buck and he hears that and he doesn't have any does with him, keeping him there, he will come in looking for a fight.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever had luck with up in northern Michigan has been, like light tending grunts. It seems like anytime I try to get aggressive at all with the calls, like the shit you see the guys in Kansas doing and stuff, it's just you might as well be slapping 2x4s together in your tree stand most of the time up there.
And that's Drew. That's Drew, right?
Yep.
Drew, I know you talk about that property you hunt over there in Mile. When I was in college, I lived in Mile. I was playing basketball for Kirtland, and I bow hunted over there. And it seemed like there was not a lot more bigger deer, but it seemed like there was more deer. And the deer were a little bit more social. I actually killed a 6-point one year. It was on October 14th. I got out of basketball practice a little early, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go jump on my bow stand. And I got in the stand. I was hunting on this little island on this marsh, and I was like, man, I know there's got to be a deer in here somewhere. And I would do that. I just did a little like a little grunt, like a little social grunt, and he come walking out at 15 yards, and I stuck him. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And so ever since then, yeah, I'm definitely a believer. If you're using it in the within the right situation at the right time of year, a simple grunt can do wonderful things.
Yeah.
I like doing them real quiet too, so it seems like it's harder for them to pinpoint where that grunt's coming from. If you do a little quieter ones, because if you do a loud one, they might be able to get you a little tighter and be able to get the best of your wind or whatever on you.
Yeah, they'll come walking out looking up in a tree.
Right, absolutely.
I've had them do that before.
No.
I think it's key to have a call that sounds decent too. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, and a lot of them sound pretty ridiculous to me. I mean, in comparison to anything I've ever heard in the woods, like you talking about it being situational, a lot of those calls, I really think, I mean, I've been in the woods so many times and heard a hunter blow a grunt call, and I'm like, not for a second did I be like, oh, I hear a deer grunting. I'm like, no, someone picked the Primos roar call up today.
Blowing it till the reeds cracking, you know?
Yeah.
Or the estrus cans.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
You can hear those.
Yeah.
When have you ever seen a fucking deer running through the woods up here going, "Meh," and there was a buck behind it sitting there going, oh, yeah, sure, I'm going to come to that.
I've actually known some buddies that worked for a couple seasons ago. That happened for Nick.
With the estrus can?
Opening day, just after light, he had his estrus can, a few times.
That wasn't up north, though.
No, that was down around here.
Yeah.
And it was a big 14-point come through.
Right.
I've never had any luck with that. And you know what? I guess my theory behind that is if a doe is running around the woods because it's looking for a mate or something like that, there's something wrong with it, because there's hardly any deer up here in the first place, let alone a single doe that's not going to have a, it's not like there's a bunch of does where these bucks can't find them.
Right.
But in another sense, though, I have heard deer, like when I've been in Kansas, when there's a little bit more higher deer population, higher deer density. I've heard them running around the woods, and you're just hearing, and you're like, oh, well, a fawn got lost, and all of a sudden you look back and it's a freaking 180-pound doe, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Situational.
It really depends on where you're at.
Oh yeah.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate you jumping in here and weighing in on this. Any little bit of information that people can grab, right now for the next couple of weeks. I just kind of felt like I wanted to get a couple guys on and put this out because, from now till kind of like Thanksgiving is pretty much probably your highest odds for the year, right?
Yeah, actually, I really like that Thanksgiving weekend, too, and I don't think I touched base on that, but I'll tell you one thing real quick. You get into that second season of rifle season after a lot of people have left the woods and there's a little bit less pressure. A lot of them bucks that go back to their core area, they'll come back out again looking for does, and I've killed some nice bucks on that last week in November. So a lot of you guys out there listening, or even you guys, you get into that second season, you still haven't filled a tag, do not lose hope, because I tell you what, that last week, 5 days, whatever it is, I don't know why, but it seems like there's like a second wave that just comes out, and then bucks get back out and they start running again, and it can be really, really productive.
That's when you got yours last year.
Yeah, that's when I got my buck last year, and I've heard that over and over again, and I've seen a couple guys. It never fails because, deer camp, so everybody goes up there for opener, right?
Yep.
And then everybody comes home. Well, then there's always like one or two stragglers that couldn't get off work, And so they go up Thanksgiving weekend, and it seems like they always shoot a big buck,
Right?
Yeah.
They always come back with the monster, and everyone's like, well, damn, what the hell?
Right. So, yeah, it might work out this year where my wife and my kid are going to be gone to Washington for a week the end of November. So I might be spending a whole lot of
Very
time.
nice. So Daddy's got some hunting time to put in.
Quite a bit here coming up. So, yeah, man. But I know you're at work. We won't take up your whole evening. I know me and you've been talking for probably the better part of 2 years now about sitting down and doing one of these, and we will here soon or at some point. We'll hook up and sit down and have a nice long discussion about deer hunting, and I'll be really looking forward to that. Maybe we'll catch up with you when we're up north here in the next week or so. So I know you said you're going to Ohio, but you'll be back when?
I will be back the 11th.
Okay. And then you're going to be able to get some hunting in?
I don't know. I've honestly only hunted a total of 4 hours this whole season, just because I've been so busy with not only working my full-time job, then I also have a business. I'm a tree climber. I remove trees. And so that's kept me pretty busy. I'm wrapping up the last few of my jobs so I can get out for the rut. But I'm headed to Ohio. That's going to be the bulk of my bow hunting. I'll come back. Hopefully I can get a morning or two in the woods, but I'll most likely be focused on getting ready for rifle season.
Hell yeah. And you guys going to do another deer camp video this year?
Absolutely.
That's very cool, man. Yeah, what's I know you got your YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel?
Michigan Gone Wild.
Yep. And you guys have a website where people can find the links to all your content?
Yep, MichiganGoneWild.com.
Easy enough. Well, cool, dude. I appreciate it, and we will talk soon.
You bet. I appreciate you guys. Good luck hunting.
Pleasure,
Thanks
man.
a lot. You too, man.
Okay, Alvin. Take care.
Yep.
See ya.
Well, how about that?
How about it?
50-50 on the
50-50.
on the snort wheeze.
Yeah,
I snort wheezed at a buck a couple weeks ago.
See
Oh, did I?
working?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I turned your microphone off, Ryan, and not the phone line. There we go. You back, buddy?
I think so.
There you are.
I've done it once. I snort wheezed one time, and that was enough for me to put the snort wheeze. Like I have that buck roar call because it's actually a decent sounding
The
grunt call.
Primos?
Yeah,
I've been hunting with that for a while, and I've been able to get a good sound out of it.
I've had a hacksaw blade just to that snort wheeze tube on there just to cut it off because it's just like I'm never gonna use this thing.
I've like I said, I've used it on maybe one handful of occasions since I've owned it, and it's been a long time. And it's always like a Hail Mary. The snort wheeze Hail Mary, I did it at a buck, trying to break him off of a doe. He was locked on her like hardcore. That was probably about 5 years ago when I was hunting the property out.
Mm-hmm.
The 80 acres that I had permission to. And couldn't break him. I snort wheezed 2 bucks when I lived in Emmett. They were running across the field, both of them nose to the ground to a group of does out in the middle of the field by a big oak tree. And I snort wheezed them, and they ran up the field towards me, and they ran downwind of me.
Yeah, I guess I've never really tried it downstate. Most of the time I'm hunting the rut. It's taking my week of vacation and heading up north. So
right.
It's never really been a tactic that you
It's
pull
all
out
situational, I think.
Yeah.
I don't recall using it in Ohio at all ever.
Well, let's do this. Let's wrap this one up. What we're gonna do here is a 3 or 4 part mini series on hunting the rut. I'm gonna wrap this up. Take a short break.
Intermission.
And then we're gonna call in. We're gonna phone in another friend in a different state here.
Yeah.
And so we'll be back with part 2.
I'm hanging on the edge of my seat.
Right.
I'd love to ask that if anybody listening would love to go to iTunes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bombard the shit out of people on this.
Give us a freaking review already.
Yeah, that's why I'm cutting this episode into 4
Give
parts
us a rating.
so I can hassle people 4 times.
Toss some ninja stars at us.
Be turning tricks on the corner pretty soon if we don't get some
this
more.
is a rough deal.
Yeah. Patreon account there on the website. That's super helpful. Support
Alright.
the show, and then iTunes or whatever platform you listen to, leave us a ranking or review. Thanks for listening.
All right.
What do you got to say?
Me? No.
Okay.
I'm good.
We got stickers now too.
Yeah, where's my frickin' sticker,
I
dude?
left a pile of them on my counter.
We'll talk.
We're gonna have to start charging for those stickers because I sent out a lot of free ones today.
Yeah, dude, I'll throw you some, I'll throw you a couple bones.
Well, you don't. We'll talk about it later.
I just want a Deer Hunter Podcast sticker.
can
They're the
throw-
best stickers around.
You can throw a bone at me anytime.
Thanks for
Well,
listening.
That's a given.